The Neutral.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Amanda Stevens, and we are back for another edition of The Neutral. And I'm really excited to have this guest on today because, we don't see a lot of interviews out there for photographers, and I think I have one of the very best esports photographers on the show today. That's right, we have the one, the only, TempusRob. How's it going as I leave? Man, I can't ever do the show without any technical difficulties.
That's okay.
That's
streaming in a nutshell. It's technical difficulties.
Yeah, apparently Twitch was having technical difficulties today. They were down for a bit. I was taking a nap all day, so I was I was away from my computer. And when you're you probably experience this a little bit because you're also a freelancer. So working from home is like the normal to an extent. When you can't go anywhere else, you spend, I don't know about you, I spend way less time at my computer now.
Oh, no. I spend way too much time at my computer now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But it's this quarantine's really weird. It's like kind of a mental boom in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's we have the similar experience of we get paid to be at places where large swaths of people gather.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened for a little bit.
No. I did the Mortal Kombat finals in early March. And the same week that I came back, I basically watched a few months of work disappear over the course of 48 hours as things were canceled. And it was rough. That was like death by 1,000 cuts, because it's not just like, oh, hey, you don't have a job anymore. It's like, oh, you don't have this job anymore, and you don't have that job anymore, and oh, Overwatch League is going online. Oh, and CDL is going online too, and suddenly you just have nothing.
Yeah, and when you're a gig economy, applying for unemployment is not always a thing.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't exist. California, I think starting tomorrow, is taking applications for freelancer unemployment.
Yeah, so I've been trying to explain that to people here in New York, because everybody's like, oh, well, like, why don't you just apply for unemployment? And I'm like, I don't think you guys realize something. Sometimes people who work in esports, we don't have these things called contracts. Right. Like, in my case, like, I literally didn't sign a contract yet for one of the gigs I lost. And I honestly don't think I ever would have. It would have just been, like, a verbal agreement through emails that, like, you submit content, we pay you X. And, like, that's the paper trail. But you can't go to the unemployment office with, like, a bunch of emails being like, well, this person says that they're definitely paying me $80 an article.
Yeah. And it's complicated, and it's a lot, but it seems like, fingers crossed, it seems like they're being pretty liberal with who they're accepting for for unemployment applications at this point.
Yeah, so it's
we'll see.
Hopefully...
Thankfully, I'm doing okay. I still have some invoices from previous gigs coming in, and I have the Overwatch League has been gracious enough to give me some photo archive work. And I've been doing some in-game capture work just so that they have some extra social content. So it's not nothing.
I was super confused by that when you got tagged in an Overwatch League post, and it was like pictures by TempusRob, and I was like, wait a second, these are in-game shots.
Yeah,
and my brain was like trying real hard to be like, are these cosplayers? No, this is definitely in-game screenshots. Am I being punked?
No, it was just kind of out of sheer boredom. A few weeks ago, I went. They have Overwatch. If you own Overwatch in the BattleNet client, there's a replay viewer for Overwatch League matches. And I think the game itself, I don't play Overwatch that much anymore, but I think the game itself actually has replay codes, and you can go back and watch just about any match. So I was sitting around, and I had nothing better to do, so I went into the game and I captured some Overwatch League matches inside the game, and just tweeted them out. and they did better than a lot of my actual photo posts do.
Oh, that's rough.
I'm not sure how to feel about that. But you know, people were super into it. And so that kind of opened up the door for the league to be like, hey, like, come do that, but give the shots to us. You know?
That's pretty great. I'm a huge fan of that. I mean, finding creative ways to still do work is kind of the name of the game right now. I mean, I have the neutral and all the stuff I now do for Patreon because I have 0 contracts. There, you know, I mean, you're in the same boat, kind of. So I was like, all right, well, I can't just sit in my apartment all day and play Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, I can.
You could.
I really could, and like, you know, I don't own a Switch because I was gonna buy one. I have a friend that works at a ThinkGeek store, and she was gonna put a Coral Switch Lite on the side for me, and I was gonna go to mall literally the day after New York went on lockdown.
Oh, jeez.
Like Tuesday, I'm like out with my partner. We're getting breakfast, and both of our phones go off for news alerts, and it's like, oh, New York State's going on lockdown, like at 8 p.m. And I'm like, well,
oh, no.
I guess I'm not going to see the second My Hero Academia movie, and I guess I'm not getting a Switch tomorrow.
Nope. You're seeing the inside of your apartment for the next month.
Yo, I'm going slowly crazy. Not gonna lie. I don't know, like, because, I mean, like, sure, I still have League of Legends, but I miss the FGC a lot.
Yeah.
It's my weekends are hella fucking boring now.
Yeah. But I'm glad to see, you know, there's a lot of online stuff happening, which is very cool.
Yo, netcode is whack, though.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Especially in a lot of these fighting games. But,
yeah.
You know, I'm glad, you know, again, like everyone else, you know, everyone has to step up and just find new ways to do things. And so, you know, if your option is to either play online or not play at all.
Oh, yeah, valid.
You kind of, you know.
So, I have a question. What is a TempusRob? Like, where did the handle come from?
So, back in the early 2000s, I was in a band called Tempus. And, you know, in my infinite college-aged wisdom, I thought I was going to be in a band forever. So I made all my social handles, you know, TempusRob, because why would I ever not be in Tempus? So,
what do you play?
Yeah. Keyboards. I don't know if you can kind of see them back
Oh,
here.
I can kind of see them.
Yeah.
So, because, like, see, you're an example of why we tell athletes not to put their organization before their name on. Yeah. You are living proof.
That is a very good point. I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was the
organization in your handle.
Yeah, that was like the big problem with Nakat, because Nakat was CLG Nakat, and then Twitter like effectively closed their verified office, and then he left CLG, and so like he was getting signed by other orgs, but with CLG in front, because he was like, I'm not giving up my verified, I'm not giving up my checkmark. Right. He was just kind of, and this happens to like a lot of players. They like they get signed by an org, especially like League of Legends. You see it a lot where like players will get signed by like TSM or whatever, and then they leave the team and they're like, well, if I delete TSM from my I lose my checkmark, and people will think differently of me. So yeah, kids, if you
checkmarks are overrated.
But that filtered feed though, that is
very true.
I mean, like you can do it through your settings, but
they didn't roll that out to everyone? That's only if you're verified still?
So if you're not verified, so for those of you who don't know, filtered, what verified people have as like one of their perks of being verified is you could just have your feed be just other verified people. But back in the day, before, you couldn't filter your own mentions as a non-verified person. Now you can do it, but it's like you have to like go into advanced settings and like click a bunch of things, and Yeah, that's why I don't see. That's why I don't see some of y'all tweets, because y'all either don't follow me, or you don't have your email verified, or y'all don't have a picture. And I'm sorry, but I'm not. Makes my Twitter experience way better.
Yeah.
All right, so you take a lot of pictures of fighting games.
I do.
But what was your first fighting game?
Karate Champ on the Commodore 64.
Wait, are you old enough for a Commodore? Crap.
Yes. I mean, well, kind of. My dad owned a Commodore.
Okay, that's more. I was like, you're not that old.
No, I'm pretty old, but I'm not that old.
Okay, so Karate Champ, Commodore 64. All right, for us normies, right, who didn't play on a Commodore, what was your second fighting game, or is it another Commodore? Is it like a
no? So Street Fighter 2 on the SNES was my first like mainstream fighting game.
Mainstream fighting game. All right, so Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Because we're relatively in the same bracket. Did you play with like siblings, or is this just like, or is it just?
Yeah, it was me and my younger brother's 2 years younger than me, so we would play together a lot. But we played the jumping roundhouse sweep combo game, which is all we ever did. Because our logic was like, if you have a light kick button and a heavy kick button, why would you use anything but the heavy kick button? Why would I use a light kick when I have a heavy kick and can do more damage with it? So that was, we didn't, there was no, like, God forbid one of us ever learned how to reliably do dragon punches. That would have, like, we would have just beat each other up in real life, because it would be like, oh my God, stop, let me jump.
See, in my house, it was the slide, because my brother liked to play Vega and Bison. Okay. Yeah. And so he was a cheat motherfucker and would always slide. And I was like, stop. That's not fair. You can't slide.
Right.
And he's like, it's buttons on my character. And I'm like, no. Nope, you're not allowed. Stop it. You're cheating.
So, yeah, we played Street Fighter, but it was super mashy. We had Alpha 2 on the SNES as well, which was really interesting, because it, like, if you've never played Alpha 2 on SNES, there's like a loading pause between when it says fight and when the match actually starts. So it'll say round 1 fight, and then there's like a 5-second pause where it actually loads all of like the fight assets, and then you can fight. And then, then I got a PC and I played like Third Strike on emulators and that kind of stuff. I played Street Fighter 4 when that came out. Played Street Fighter 5 for about a few weeks.
Yo, you're just adding fuel to the fire for all the people who hate on Street Fighter 5.
It was like, I don't know. I didn't stop playing it because I hated Street Fighter 5. I stopped playing it because I hated the way I felt about fighting games.
Oh no.
I don't have the right mentality to be a good fighting game player. I am very convinced that people who are really good at like certain kinds of games, like people who are really good at fighting games, or people who are really good at like StarCraft or whatever, like their brain just works in a certain way where those kind of games just make sense to them. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean that in like the best possible way. But I think some people just like kind of see into the matrix when it comes to certain things about games. And are just way more comfortable. Like, I've always been more of like a first-person shooter guy. I played Doom, I played Quake, I played Team Fortress 2, I played Counter-Strike. And to me, like, jumping into a new shooter is just makes sense in my brain more than trying to jump into a fighting game does. But I have thought about like kind of stepping back and just kind of going back to super, super basics and just like go into training mode and throw a fireball 100 times until I don't screw up the input. Just like take it all the way back and pretend that I know absolutely nothing about fighting games and see if I can like kind of reset my mentality there.
I mean, it's the perfect time, right?
Yeah.
I'm learning Spanish. Why not learn how to throw fireballs, right?
Yeah.
Same difference. Same real world applications. You never know when you're going to have to throw a DP in real life.
Yeah. because like conceptually, I love fighting games. I love what fighting games are. I love that interaction between two players of just like, I know you know that I know that you know that I can do this, that you can do that, and just kind of the mental gymnastics of that whole thing. But translating that from up here to like, actually executing it is an entirely different skill set.
So, everybody knows you for photography, for some really sick moments in Evo and Combo Breaker and all these other tournament histories. I have an assumption that photography wasn't originally the full-time gig.
Was not.
Okay. So, at what, like, when... Not even for full time. When was the first time that you were like, "Yo, I'm gonna go to an esports event, and I'm just gonna walk around with my camera and try to capture the event, the essence"?
It was really kind of around the time that I even bought. Like, I've always had little point and shoot cameras, but in 2011, I bought like an actual DSLR and a couple of lenses. And I, at the time, was going to local battles in New Jersey for their monthlies. And I was getting my ass kicked in Street Fighter. And, like I said, I didn't have the mentality to really buckle down and improve the way I should have. But I was like, I have this camera. I need something to do with it. I had seen what people were doing, like the photos coming out of DreamHack, the photos coming out, by Kara, of past Evos, and I was just like, let me take some photos here. I like what I see from these other events. I'll take some photos. And that was the first time that I did. And I just went and I took some photos, and they were terrible. They're not even on my web. They're not even on. For the long time they were on my website, but they're not even on my website anymore. And that became, and I developed a relationship with John at Local Battles. He was the owner, and he was putting on the events. And he started having me come out to other events, and I was able to start making connections with other local tournament organizers. The ECT guys, Philly, Big E. And in 2012, I went to Apex, and that was my first like big event. That was my first like multi-day event. And they paid me. I don't even remember what they paid me. It was literally peanuts. And I drove back and forth. I'm pretty sure I spent more.
Wait, you're supposed to get paid to work at esports?
Right, but you know what?
What?
Yeah, but like at the time, like they paid me like $75 for the weekend, and they just wanted a couple photos. They wanted a handful of photos, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting this access. I'm just gonna stay here all weekend and take every single photo that I can. And I'm pretty sure I spent more on gas and tolls than what they paid me driving back and forth. But that was, I don't know if you're familiar with the Ocean moment when Ocean, little Japanese Rob player, beat Mewtwo King in Brawl. And that was a huge, like there were people stacked around everywhere, and like every single face in this photo could be like a Twitch emote. And they used that photo for years to promote Apex. Like, you didn't talk about Apex without seeing that photo, attached to the conversation. And that was when I was like, oh, maybe this photography thing is a thing. Like, obviously it was a thing. Like, there were other people, there were MLG events that have photographers. I think Kelly Klein, at the time, was shooting for them. DreamHack had photographers. Like, it was a thing. But, in my world, it was like, oh, my work can actually be useful. My work can have an impact. And that's kind of what started me on the path to just shooting more and more events.
So see, I had it backwards. I thought you had been doing like other esports photography before fighting games.
Nope.
Because I don't know, I think the first time I started seeing your work was probably like a DreamHack event, like post a DreamHack event. So that's like when I first like was like, oh, there's this TempusRob guy, and he shoots FPS games. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I was like, oh, and he does fighting games. And to be like, what's really funny to me is that like nowadays I feel like I know more writers that do like multiple things. But when I first started getting into esports, like everybody was like tribal lines. Like you were a League of Legends writer, you were, you know, a CS:GO writer, you were a Smash writer, and then you see like the photographers out there being like, "Yo, it doesn't matter, we the real mercenaries."
Yeah.
And then I see you at an event with like 3 cameras, you got 2 on each hip, you got 1 in your hand, and I'm like, yo, we're not as serious as these guys. Like we're not I don't have a holster. I don't have 2 holsters. What? Like, man, I wish I was carrying like a microphone in one holster and like my notepad and I was like, damn, these guys are the real mercenaries.
Yeah, it got real serious real quick.
Was it like a slow upgrade? Were you just like?
It was a pretty slow upgrade. You know, I was shooting on really outdated stuff, like into 2013. But you know, like 2014 came around and I got Evo. I got BlizzCon that year, and I was like, okay, I should probably like really start investing in this.
And so when you did BlizzCon that first time, did you like email? Because I know like how it works on like the freelancer side, like as a content creator, journalist, you know, you fill out the press application. But to like physically work a gig, was that something where like Blizzard came out to you and was like, hey, so we've seen this like fighting game stuff you do, but can you like do a regular event? Or did you like were you just like sending your portfolio out like everywhere?
No, I got super lucky with the BlizzCon thing. Red Bull had been putting on their Battlegrounds events for StarCraft in 2013.
Oh, wow, that's a throwback.
Yeah, so in 2013 they did New York City, and I managed to get a press pass to that. 2014, you know, I still had the contact with the PR person, and I got a press pass for that again. And I don't remember if I put them on Reddit or if someone else put them on Reddit. I think I put them on Reddit. And the community manager for StarCraft saw them on Reddit and we're like, we want you to come shoot BlizzCon. I was like, okay. Like, and they had me down there for 2 weeks. They had me down for the, you know, the pre-weekend, you know, the qualifiers, and for BlizzCon itself. And that, you know, you talk about being in the right place in the right time. That relationship is kind of how I wound up with the Overwatch League too, because Kiki, the woman who was the community manager for StarCraft at the time, later moved on to Overwatch League, and you know, she played a part in helping make sure that I was on for the league as well.
That's dope. What I think is super funny is that you got your big gig of doing BlizzCon from doing Battlegrounds, and I got to do Red Bull Conquest because I did Battlegrounds for Boston.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I did the Red Bull Battlegrounds Boston, and then because I think it was like my second year in esports, like going to events, not working like PAXs and stuff as a games journalist. And I was on the FGC bug. I had worked, I had gone to EVO, and I was going to defend the North. And I was like, yo, Battlegrounds is in Boston? That's like a $60 round trip bus ticket. Like, let's go. And then I just kept doing the finals, because the finals kept ending up being on the East Coast. So, hacks. And at some point, Red Bull was like, hey, so like we've seen you at these like at our finals the last 2 years, and you're like not terrible at this interview thing. You want to work the Conquest tour? And I'm like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm optimal. I'm just there all the time. But folks, for those of you watching at home, that's how this happens. A lot of times, a lot of people. So like, yeah, you could probably have some like dope portfolio sitting, like you've been grinding it out and you're like shipping it everywhere. But sometimes just going a lot and like introducing yourself to people, being professional.
Yeah, it's, you know, people have a kind of like a you say who you know matters, and that's kind of sometimes seen as like a
negative.
Oh, well, you just got this job because you know people. Well, yeah, I know people because I spent 3 years going to events on my own dime just because I liked what I was doing.
Oh man, that hurts. Hearing that hurts because that's the same. That's the truth.
But that's what you have to do, you know? Like,
yeah.
Anytime the conversation about like working for free and whatnot comes up, you know, there's always like the OGs who are like, I worked for free for 10 years, so you should have to work for free too. And it's like, well, yes and no. Like, yes, you should be taking your own initiative. Yes, you should be going out and creating the work that you want to get hired to do, because you're not going to get hired if you're not doing that. But you have to be out there creating work for people to understand that your work has value, which is kind of a catch-22.
Yeah. So like the thing is you brought up one of my favorite topics in esports. So it gives me a perfect time to talk about it, which is, you know, so I agree that you gotta like I hate saying pay your dues. You gotta put in the work, right? It's like a math problem, right? If you don't show your work and you fuck it up, then your teacher's just gonna give you 0 points because you didn't show your work, so they have no idea how you got to the wrong answer. That's how I survived in math for a few years. I like showed my work all the time so I could get some points. But you know, like you said, you know, you have all these esports OGs that are like, I didn't get paid for 10 years, and the first time I got paid, it was a privilege, and I got paid $100, and you're like, all right, fam, but like, if you could go back in time,
right,
and get paid every time you worked, you would. Like, don't tell anybody that like you're like, no, I never wanted to make money until I was doing it for like. It's like nobody
that was all, yeah, you know,
thinks
and
that way.
In 2008, 2009, 2010, yeah, maybe you didn't get paid. Maybe you know.
Also, nobody got paid.
Can go no, but you know, thank God for the people who spent years of their lives in the early 2000s, you know, just doing it for the love of it. You know, I did the same thing for a few years myself, but it's 2020 now. You know,
multi-billion industry.
Yeah, you know, telling the people who are trying to commentate like major CS:GO events that they need to work for free, and I don't think anybody is doing that. But you know, people's idea of or maybe they are. You know, people's idea of what should be being done at what levels gets a little twisted in those conversations, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so like it's weird because like I remember when I first started writing around like 2009 is when I started like transitioning my journalism, because I was in school for journalism, but I was like trying to like work and make money while I was like in college, and like the writing gigs for like journalists were so bad in gaming. I mean, they're still pretty bad, but like back then they were like super bad. They were like, man, you wanna write for like $1, 1,000 views, and I'm like, I guess, sure. Like, can I get a flat rate? No. And so like nowadays, like I have to say that like less of those sites exist.
Yeah. Oh god, what was it? Gold per 10?
Yo, but Gold per 10 was lit, and like in fairness, well, so because Gold per 10 was like just Ryan Tang. Like, it wasn't like a media company. Ryan Tang had made some smart investments and was like paying people effectively out of like pocket.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and there was no editors there. Like, you just submitted your article.
You could a platform.
Yeah, you could. It was like SRK forums.
Okay.
It was essentially SRK forums with the added benefit of like if your article popped off, you got paid. So I'll defend Gold per 10 because like that was the plan.
Oh yeah, I wasn't trying to like shade at Gold per 10.
But there are predatory sites that were like, yeah, like we'll take your articles, and because like the thing is funny you brought up Gold per 10 is that like those category of sites, all they were trying to do was like have gross aggregate numbers so that they could be like, hey, bigger website, would you like to buy buy our site, because that's what happened to Gold for 10. Gamers bought Gold for 10, stayed gamers for a bit, and then bought Esports and changed all of their media stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, little bit. See, some of these words that like people who are gonna watch this episode especially like the non-esports FGC people, they're gonna be like, "What's a Gold for 10? What's a gamers like GAMER? No, but for you, because we're cool like that. But like, yeah, I mean, it's the funny thing about talking to people like you, and like we had Ultra David on last week versus like Marine, who is relatively new to esports and fighting games, is like we've seen the scene just change just a little bit, right? Like, some things go the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah.
And it makes you just feel a little bit older every year.
That is true.
Like, here, you know what? I'm gonna ask you a question that's like not really. It's a feel good in the sense that it's humorous. At what point did you look around an event and realize that you were like one of the oldest people in the room?
Oh God. I honestly I didn't even, when I said I bought my camera, that didn't happen until I was 27. So, I'm 30. How the hell old am I? I'm going to be 37 this year.
Oh, we're a lot closer in age than I want to tell the audience. So, I'm 30. Don't. Oh wait, that's already fucking old. Never mind. I can't even pretend anymore.
That's what I mean. Like, even like in esports, 27 was already kind of old by a lot of standards in esports. So it doesn't bother me so much. And especially like as things get bigger and productions get a little bigger, you have more and more like kind of veterans from other areas coming in, and even just, a lot of the esports veterans themselves. We're all getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know if I'd call myself a veteran, but
okay, hold up. Pause the tape.
When I say veteran, I think of people like Red Eye. I think people like like people who have been around since like I came in what a lot of people would consider the heyday. Like I know to a lot of people 2010, 2011 was not the heyday, but compared to,
I think it's like I call it kind of like. So, do you follow comic books at all? Are you like kind of a comic fan?
No, not really.
All right, so like for comics, there's like the Bronze Age, and then there's like the Silver Age, and that's like the like 80s ish, and then there's the Golden Age, which was like the late 80s, mid 90s of comics, because that's when like comics was like having its like big resurgence. And now we call things the modern era because it's late 90s forward. I consider the like mid 2000s, like the 2010s, like 28, like 2008 forward, to be sort of like the Silver Age, sort of like trending upward. That's when esports is slowly transitioning out of like pure grassroots and is like starting to get some of the glitz and some of the glamour. And then, by like the 2014, 2015 era, that's like when it's like big business, right? I think from like,
Absolutely.
So I would say you're a veteran because I'll say this, veterans are the people who are still there like 5-6 years later. Right? Like, there are definitely people you were probably shooting with who are like not doing it anymore. Right?
Yeah, a few. But there's a lot of photography's funny. Photography has a lot of
older people.
A lot of veterans, like, yeah. Because not even necessarily older, but just people who have been doing it
for quite a while. So that's what I mean. Like people who have been doing it. Because it's the opposite with journalists. Like eventually you get like burnt out, or you just like can't afford it anymore. I feel like journalism is like the weird hobby where you either do it because you love it, and those people don't always travel because you can't just go to an event to make like $25 an article.
Yeah. No, I feel like a lot of the photographers who started in that like 2010-ish, 2011, 2012-ish era, like I think that was like the right place at the right time to be as far as timing. Because I know, like, I'm sure Helena Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
She started around the same time. Carlton Biener started around the same time. A lot of a lot of the more established photographers started around that time.
Yeah, Zoophoto says in the chat, it's funny you talk about age because something that's common in weddings is that some people actually don't take other vendors as seriously until they're hitting upper 20s, 30s-ish. So one of the things that's like super weird about esports, and the FGC to an extent, I think the FGC is a little bit different than esports abroad in this category, is that it's a very young industry in some ways and normal in a lot of other ways. And so when I say normal is that like very few events are like ran by like a 22-year-old, right? Like you combo breaker, Rick is not a spring chicken, right? But when it comes to like the people making a lot of the content, I'm pretty old at 33. Like I go into an event, like I'll use, some of you might not be League of Legends fans. When I was at Rift Rivals this past summer, I was until Dustin Steiner came by, I was the oldest person in the room by almost like 8 years.
Oh yeah, but it's for as much as there's the established photographers like Helena and myself, whatever. There's also a lot of photographers who have come up in the last few years who are like not even 21 yet. These guys are like 18, 19, 21, like. They scare me.
They're coming for your money.
Because they're, well, I mean, I like to think I have the advantage of age and experience in some senses, but like, these are the guys that can run around for 16-hour days and sleep for 3 hours and get up and do it again.
Yeah,
I hit 10 hours in a day and I'm like, get me the F out of here.
Yo, I see you.
I'm trying to.
I see you at the end of a day at Evo, and we both catch eyes, and we're like, "Yo, when are we going home?"
Oh, Evo is a special kind of intense too, because Evo is like, it's gotten better in the last year or two, but those early Evos that I did, 2014, 15, 16.
Yo, 2016?
Like, oh my god.
So
you wrap up Saturday at like 2 a.m. and then you're back at the venue on Sunday at like 6.
So I'm so happy that what I consider probably the hardest Evo I ever worked to be like when I was also my youngest and most energetic, because that event is hard, especially from somebody who went from esports to fighting games, where like everything's like nicely handed to you at an esports event. You don't gotta go anywhere. You got press. Like, I came from games journalism before I went to an Evo, and like you have press rooms. They've got water for you. You got a place to put your stuff. And then I get to Evo, and I have like my standard backpack that's like my laptop, my cameras, all my equipment. And I'm like, I walk over to the information area, and I'm like, yo, where's the press room? And they're all just like, what? And they're like, what's a press room? And I'm like, this is the biggest fighting game event in the year. What do you mean, what's a press room? And they're like, sorry, we don't have that. And I'm like, is there anywhere I can just like put my bag? And they're like, no.
It's an outlet over there.
They're like, no, there's nowhere for you to put your bag. And I'm like, I have a 30-pound bag. What am I going to... And then I ran into Vexany for the first time. And she knew somebody in production. So she was like the savior of my event, because I think it was like one of her first Evos too, and we were both trying to figure out where to put like our excess gear, and she's like, oh wait, I know this guy, and we're like, hey, can we leave our stuff behind the stream station? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And we're like, bless RNG, just like the greatest.
Well, the first time I did BlizzCon, like that was my first like kind of AAA production event. And, I had like a runner to go and get me my meals. And like, I had my own little table backstage, and I was like, I almost felt bad.
You had a runner? I've never had.
I didn't have a runner. There was a runner, but
yeah. Chat, big time Rob over here having a personal assistant. Damn.
I felt bad. Like it was like I'm so used to just like taking care of everything myself that the idea of asking someone else to like bring me food almost felt wrong. But that's that's normal.
Yeah. So it's just a tank says I built a set of gear just for events like Evo. Rob knows.
Yup.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I will say this: fighting games,
the Sunday mix-up.
Evo drastically changed the way I looked at bringing gear to an event. I bought a lighter laptop because of it. So because I don't have to edit like you guys do. So like I have a lighter laptop that's like a netbook essentially. I stopped bringing multiple cameras because I don't need them. Like working events versus working FGC events, like you slim down. Not just in weight from walking all over a venue all day, but also like you just shed the non-essentials. Working big events just causes you to like really realize all the like extraneous nonsense that you may or may not have been carrying on you.
Travel in general.
Oh yeah,
we'll do that to you real quick.
So
I used to have all sorts of stuff I'd bring with me, and the first time I had an international gig, I was like, "Oh, the carry-on limit is 15 pounds." I was like,
yeah.
You learn really quick how much your gear weighs when the carry-on limit is 15 pounds.
Oh man.
You know, I had a backpack, just, you know, it's a fairly large backpack, but it was a backpack, and you know, I could stuff it with 40 pounds of gear if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, you learn real quick what matters and what doesn't.
So, you know, since we're talking about like long events like an Evo, you know, since there are probably people who are watching this episode, they're like, man, I want to get into this in a more serious capacity. What is some like advice you have for photographers who are going to say, I mean, we'll pretend that COVID-19 is not a thing and that they're going to Evo this year, right? That's their first event. They're bringing their camera. What are some tips that you have on like how to make it through such a Spartan day like an Evo?
One of the very first things I learned at Evo when I did 2014, which was my first Evo, don't try to get everything. You're not going to get everything. You're not going to get half the things that you want to get. You know, I was so used to working, you know, comparatively much smaller events, even bigger events, you know, like ECT and big events, you know, are not small, but compared to the scale of Evo, yeah. So I'd be, you know, I was on the floor at Evo and I'd hear like a pool going crazy over here and a pool going crazy over there. And I was just like, oh my God, I have to get this and I have to get that, but I can't be in both places. What do I do? Oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm missing things. You're not going to get everything. Just get what you can get. You know, just gotta pick something and stick with it and just get what you get. And don't kill yourself. Just, you know, have fun. You know, you have to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, what's the point? You know, especially if you're there working for yourself, like worry more about getting like a small set of really good images. Like I'm always jealous of the people who, you know, go to an event on their own and are able to put up a gallery of like 10 images that are all just absolutely killer, you know, because they were able to just take the time and find these little things that, you know, a lot of the time someone like me will miss because I'm running from point A to point B to C to get back to A, and, you know, but what I'm shooting for is different than what they're shooting for. So. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, it's the same thing I tell. It's like the same thing that like I had to learn. Because I remember Born Free looked at my interview list one year, and he was like, "Are you crazy?" And I was like, "What do you mean? It's only like 20 people." And he's like, "That's not only 20 people is a lot of people." And I'm like,
right.
Yes, but it's whatever. Like I'll manage. It'll be fine. And then every Sunday, I'm like waking up, I'm sore. I'm like, oh man, why did I do this Friday and Saturday? I'm like, oh, maybe Born Free is right. Maybe I should just scale it down. So I agree in all fronts. Less is more.
Or not even necessarily less is more, but, you know, like I said, especially if you're on your own, especially if Evo's your first event, like, oh my God, please take time to go and enjoy it. Go play some games, like go, you know, go have food with friends.
Go to Egg Slut.
Yes, absolutely. But and especially if it's your first event, your photos are going to suck. Just telling you right now, they're going to suck. So just do your thing, shoot some photos, reevaluate, and go to the next one.
That's fair. So, as a photographer, one of the things that people, Zoe Photo, Egg Slut is like, if you're in Vegas and you're not going to Egg Slut, then I think you have misplayed your entire weekend. That is like an honest opinion, not sponsored, but if I could get sponsored by Egg Slut, like, my life would be great. I would move the show to Vegas if I could like have Egg Slut every day. I mean, look, I live in upstate New York. We don't have good egg sandwiches. I'm from downstate New York, where like they were great, and now they're mediocre. The bagels taste different, but that's
don't have.
That's not. That's
at
not.
least you have bagels.
They don't have bagels in LA.
They call them bagels.
I feel like I should do you and your wife a solid, and like get you a bagel box, where like I go down to the city specifically to get you bagels to like next day ship you. Like I will put the money in to like, because I feel like East Coasters you can't survive. I don't know how you're alive still without real bagels. Like, we
bring them back from us on our Christmas trips. We bring back a dozen bagels. And we put them in the freezer, and they keep surprisingly well.
What event was I? You introduced me to your partner at one event. That's how I knew.
Evo a couple years ago, yeah.
Because I remember I was like, "How do you like the West Coast?" And the first thing your wife said was like, "Yo, they have no eggs. They have no bagels. They have no egg sandwiches." And I was like, "Yo, this is how I know Rob and his wife are G's, because they think the same way I do. If I can't get like a greasy, like, egg dripping off, like, then it's not a morning."
No, I found a place out here called New York Bagel. They charged me $10 for bacon, egg, and cheese, and then microwave the egg.
Oh, that's just not okay.
No,
it's not okay. All right,
I'm cutting the stream. That's it.
Chat, I'm sorry. If you guys have never been here for an episode of The Neutral before and you thought it was all like serious esports fighting game talk, nah, sometimes you gotta talk about egg sandwiches with a fellow East Coaster. Like, sorry. This isn't, if you report them on Yelp, but here's the thing. West Coast people don't understand the value of a good egg sandwich. Y'all got like your kale salad or whatever. Like,
there's a lot of good food out here. Don't get me wrong, but are not egg sandwiches.
Egg sandwiches though is like a important part of the food pyramid. I put it like very close to the top, like right above like a good pizza, but like right below. West Coast Chinatown is undefeated, especially in Oakland. Binary Delight saying bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll is life. See much chat. A lot of you are new people. You've only been here. You're probably here for Rob, but I'm glad you're also here for the egg sandwich takes like that. Look, if you're gonna stay here and come every Monday, you're gonna have to understand that like food, like you don't get as big as I do without food takes. So like, just letting you know, food takes is like a part of the neutral. But on the back to photography.
Oh right,
that thing you do kind of well. I've heard. What would you say all time best? Yeah, I heard it. Ooh. All time best photo. Like you would get like a blown up version and like put it up in your house. Wow, you like staggered. It was like me hearing about the egg sandwich. You just were like,
it's such a hard question. I had to recently, as part of the work I was doing for Overwatch League, I had to pare down. I took 12,000 photos in 2018 for Overwatch League,
Ooh.
and I had to pare them down. And I pared them down to about 300 before I just had to stop. I couldn't bear to keep going through and being like, well, this one's a little better than that one. And I am terrible. I'm good at calling to a point, but once you get past like a couple of rounds of calling, I'm like a parent who is being asked which of their children is their favorite.
Yo, but every parent has a favorite child. They don't lie. All right, so I'll make it easier on you. Granted, it's not easier because you just told me you took 12,000 photos just for Overwatch League. Is there like a top 5?
So, still has to be. Oh yeah, top 5 I can do pretty easy. Ocean Moment in 2012. Trophy Hoist from Overwatch 2018. There is a shot from Evo 2016. I don't remember if it's 16 or 17. Of a guy in the crowd. He like stood up and he was like silhouetted against the stage. And that's like it's a pretty classic Evo photo in my opinion.
Your humble opinion.
My humble opinion about my own amazing photos. So those I think those are probably top 3.
Okay. So what do you? So like I know that this isn't how you think, but I assume at this point you kind of have like a spidey sense for like when it's about to happen.
Yeah.
And I know that comes with experience, but trying to articulate a question that I know doesn't have like an actual answer, which is like, what are you looking for when you're trying to capture that moment? Because there's a difference between like the photography you're taking throughout the day and getting sort of that commercial work done versus like final Sunday at any event, Evo, Combo Breaker, Overwatch League. What are you looking for in like the atmosphere for that moment? Because it's not just, oh, they won, click.
A lot of that comes down to like all the observation that I've done up to that point. Looking at the crowd, looking at the players, looking at the stage, what I saw at rehearsals as far as like, is there going to be like fireworks? Is there going to be lighting? Is a certain player going to pop off? Is a certain person in the crowd going to like react? And just keeping like a mental list of what might be good to capture in like a super like that instant. A lot of the times it is, I hate to say it, but it is kind of just point and click where I'm shooting like really wide and I just want to get like player reactions and crowd reactions and the stage light and all that. But yeah, it's kind of much like the event itself is just kind of a culmination of kind of what I've learned up to that point, and what I think might work. And a lot of it's a gamble as much as anything too. I've bet it all on certain players like being emotional or this and that, and then they win and they're just like, yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah,
that's happened to me sometimes, and it's like the most infuriating thing of the moment, because like for Conquest they wanted me to take pictures for like socials or like videos, and they're like, oh well, like we need the pop off after the player won, and it's like, all right, cool, Squish won Guilty Gear, and he was like, he won, and he just kind of was like, I just this one, and you're like, fucking, I just like anything, friend. And then you have moments where like when I was in Philly, Shin Paulo won Tekken, and he was so emotional about it, he like threw his stick down, like I thought he was gonna jump like 100 feet in the air, tears on his face, like it's like, why can't you all pop off like that? Help a brother out.
So, question in the chat: would you say it's less analytical and more instinctual? It's I think leading up to it, it's analytical, and in the moment, it's instinctual. You know, I have to have like a plan. You know, leading up to a moment, I have to have a plan. So, like I said, it's thinking about the players, thinking about the stage, thinking about the run of the show, the crowd, everything. But then once that moment starts happening, it's just run and gun and see who's where, see who's doing what. Can I get in this position to get this shot, or whatever. Like some of my best shots have just been luck of the draw. I wasn't able to get over to another spot for the shot I wanted, but something else happened right in front of me. It's just in that sense, it is kind of instinctual of just being able to react to the situation in front of you and go from thing that's happening to photo in your head to camera to face, click, and make it happen.
Last of my questions. Do you have like a top 3 players that you like to shoot?
Top 3 players that I like to shoot. Sabiel from New York Excelsior, the Overwatch League.
Yo, it's not fair. He's like a fucking K-pop model.
And he's such a ham for the camera. I was going, like I said, I was going through the other photos. And I have so many photos of him just being like, for the camera, just saluting for the camera, posing for the camera. But even when he's not, like, he's very emotional. He kind of wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, Crodius, NYXL is the best team in Overwatch League. You can't tell me. Standings don't matter. Actual results don't matter. Like, New York, ride or die.
Oh, man. I feel like I haven't shot an event in, like,
6 years.
I'm trying to think back to, like, who favorite players to shoot. I like Hungry Box kind of for the same reasons. He doesn't ham it up for the camera as much as he's just very, very outward with his emotions, win or lose, just super intense. And he MIBR, the Counter-Strike guys. They're just like, they're super. And actually, I'm thinking about Counter-Strike. The old Virtus Pro crew too, Pasha and Taz, all those guys.
Oh man, I miss those guys.
Such great people, like just genuinely nice people, and just like,
and
super
characters,
super into the game. Yeah,
Pasha was one of my first CS:GO interview at ESL One New York when they were still Brooklyn Beatdown.
Right.
Throwbacks, sad days. All right, so chat. Once upon a time, there was this really cool event called Brooklyn Beatdown.
Once upon a time, there were events.
I'm gonna like superimpose the Lonely Man theme from the Incredible Hulk TV show. The music that plays at the end of every episode when he's like hitchhiking down the road. Yeah, I'm gonna play that just like the second you say that. Chat, this is where we're not wrapping up the show immediately, but this is where we start to think about that. And by that, I mean, if you have any questions that you were dying to ask him that you didn't hear me ask, you are more than welcome to ask. I know Zoofoto got some questions in. Kratos is talking about once upon a time there was a second. Yo, please don't say things like this. It hurts. I'm from upstate New York. It's not far from the city. Like I'm so sad. There's nothing for me. Look, I don't want to focus on my career being on pause. But yeah, if you have any burning photography questions or person questions, maybe you want to know Rob's like tier list for egg sandwiches. I don't know. Ask away. And if not, then we'll do the whole plug social media stuff. But if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask, and they can be not about esports, but be respectful.
1, bacon, egg, and cheese. 2, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. 3, sausage, egg, and cheese.
Yo.
Everything bagel, toasted, pepper, ketchup.
What bagel?
Everything.
Yes!
Yes.
Yo, so up here, Zoophoto wants to know, what genre of photo do you never want to shoot?
Do I never want to shoot?
Ooh.
Weddings. No. Just like weddings are super intense to shoot, and I have a lot of respect for people. I don't dislike weddings. I don't dislike wedding photography, but weddings are super intense, and that's one of those things you really, really have to like that to do that, because you have to be a portrait photographer, you have to be an event photographer, you have to be like a ninja on your feet to get around like wedding ceremonies and this and that. School portraits, yeah.
Yo, Tank with the actual pick, with the actual call.
That is a good point. But yeah, I did a little bit of wedding photography early on, and it's not for me. I'll second shoot all day, but I don't want to deal with like having to book brides and
so what you're saying is that like I can't I should take my wedding photography gig not to you.
Well, no, that's not true.
You're like, well, money.
No, but Bernadette and we shoot sometimes together for weddings, because she is also a photographer and she loves the wedding stuff.
All right, I'll
I kind of let her take the rein on that, and I just show up and
I'll hit her up on Facebook. So we have another question, which is, do any of you, I guess this is for all the photographers in the chat, have color grading tutorials? I feel even after post-processing that colors aren't accurate enough, like in Rob's Dallas fuel photos.
So step one, make sure you have a good monitor. If you don't have a good monitor, you're never gonna like get decent color. Calibrate your monitor, because even if you have a good monitor, if it's not calibrated, you're not gonna have good colors. And it's colors aren't accurate. It depends on, like, if you're going for accurate colors, then yeah, you have to have a good monitor, have to have a good calibration. Accurate isn't necessarily what you have to go for either. Some people have very stylistic edits where they're very like desaturated or very kind of color washed. But yeah, if accurate's your thing, you just kind of have to, but also come to terms that most people aren't looking at your photos with calibrated screens either. Yeah. So no matter, like, you have to, it's good to have a calibrated screen, and then, high quality edits and this and that. But you also have to accept that people are going to be looking at your photos on like phones with screwed up color gamuts and like weird laptop screens that are tinted blue. At the end of the day, all you can do is just kind of do the best you can with what you have. But as far as the original question, color grading tutorials, I keep my edits super basic. Contrast, exposure, white if you want accurate colors, white balance is really going to be like the big thing that kind of takes you from weird tints into like your accurate colors. But that's hard to do at esports events sometimes because people still like red and blue on everything.
And lighting is a nightmare at esports events. Everybody likes their esport event to look like it's in someone's basement for a rave.
One day
I won't need to bring 3 different lights to shoot a interview and it not look like I'm in a cave. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. Super dope. I'm not salty. You're salty. like shooting inside Red Bull Battlegrounds Boston. That was fun.
Oh, that one I wasn't at.
Oh,
that was in the theater, right?
That was in the it's called like the Castle or something. It's like an old theater it's like now an event venue, but they made it look like the London stage, which was dope. But everything is dark as shit. And it was the first time that me and my friend had shot somewhere, like recorded video at an event that didn't just have lighting. And some of those videos I don't appear on the screen because I'm black and it's dark outside and it's dark in there. So folks, lighting's important. If you're gonna shoot an esport event, bring your own lighting of some nature. That's my tip as a non-photographer, but as somebody who has to deal with the visual medium of esport events. Surprisingly, FGC events are usually more well lit. Oh,
depends. It depends. Evo's gotten better. Evo's pretty good now.
Don't need to bring
most of it's...
Look, so some of us aren't as fancy as you, alright? Some of us are poor content creators.
Fighting games are usually decent. They'll usually have like one softbox on the stage or something, which quite frankly is better than a lot of events that have like rigs of lighting that somehow is still dimmer than one little softbox on a fighting game stage.
That's true. Any other questions in the chat? Yo, I don't Smash though, so like whatever hard suffering y'all have at Smash events, that's on y'all. I don't think I can name 10 Smash Bros. Actually, that's probably not true. I think by osmosis now I can name 10 Smash Bros. And that's not because I hate Smash. I just missed the boat entirely. I never owned a Smash game, and the first time I played Smash was Brawl. Is that the one that came out when I was in college?
Probably
on
GameCube.
Like the Wii.
Oh no, Brawl was Wii. That's right.
So yeah, and I've
never really played Smash.
And I was a warm body. They needed people to just play raw matches to like unlock characters, and they were trying to do it all in one night. And that was the first time I ever played a Smash game in my life. I didn't even know Smash was a game because I wasn't a Nintendo kid. Like once the PlayStation came out, I was like a Sony kid for life. So when I got into fighting games like as like the FGC as like a broader concept, and people were like, oh man, people would like be like, Amanda, what's your opinion of Smash being a fighting game? I was like, I mean, isn't that party? Like I said it unironically. I always thought Smash was a party game because like that's the only interaction I ever had with it.
That's the context you knew it in, right?
Yeah, it's just like the game that like you fire up like Mario Kart and like Mario Party. So when people were like, yo, what about Smash? I was like, yo, but isn't that like a party game, y'all? And then like Smashers would get super mad at me because they thought I was like trying to like insult them, and I was like, no, I just didn't know your game was a real fighting game. My bad. And they're like, and I'm like, all right, chill.
No. I played Smash on Wii for like 3 hours, and then my hands hurt, and I was like, nope.
Yo, who's your favorite fighting game character?
Ooh, M. Bison.
So you were living with Problem X1.
Oh yeah, that was really fun to watch.
Yo, that was also probably one of my favorite stage moments. Up until recently, was like the whole British contingent like bum rushing the stage, especially because I think Logan was wearing like his pink hoodie, so like it looks real good in all of the pictures of them gooning the stage in a way that people haven't done in a while.
Yeah,
or after. I also know that was like super frowned upon when it happened too, but they didn't care. Yeah. But like. That was like a great. I think that's one of my favorite moments of like seeing how much a win meant to a community. Right. I think that was like a great one of. I think that's like all of the shots from that, no matter who it is. That's like one of my favorite Evo moments. Is the British contingent rushing the stage. With post processing, do you use curves or changing color levels a lot?
No, I don't. I have like a method that I do that's very curves heavy, but it's also very slow, so I don't usually do it for most of my edits. And I'll only do like individual color levels if there's like a weird, like really harsh color light on the scene. Otherwise, I'll just try to like white balance it out.
Favorite Overwatch hero?
I don't play Overwatch as much as I used to anymore either. I like Tracer just for the like basically run and shoot stuff. I've always been more of a support player.
Oh,
but in my head, I'm a DPS player.
I feel like every support player is secretly thinks that they're a DPS player.
If my mechanics were better, I'd be a DPS player. But
Rob, like I said, it's quarantine. You got time.
I know.
You can learn how to throw fireballs and DPs, and you can play Valorant.
I spent like 30 hours with a stream up waiting for a Valorant key and never got one.
Oh,
so I've kind of given up.
Wait, the TempusRob isn't esports enough to get a Valorant key?
Oh no,
yo,
I'm not in with Riot like that.
Yo, I might be able to help you out with that. I might be friendly with the person in charge of those key releases.
That'd be fun. I've been looking for an excuse to stream.
Yo, what would here's a question for you, because have you thought about like doing sort of streams, not like this in the sense of like, an interview show, but in doing like sort of doing like photography streams, like talking about edits and like walking through people, like walking process, doing some more educational style content?
I've done that before, but these days I do all my edits on site at events, and there's less opportunity for me to do that after events, like on a stream or something. I started putting a plan for some YouTube content together, but my motivation has just been absolute zero.
That's fair. I forced myself to do the neutral and my other show. Not that I don't like being here with all these wonderful people in my chat and with my guests, but it's more of a sanity check.
Yeah.
Now, where it's like, all right, if I don't do the neutral on Monday, then like I'm just gonna sit in bed and watch another episode of Monk again. So maybe I put on clothes, like y'all only see this hoodie, but there's like jeans on. I even put kicks on. Like I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be a person again for like 1 hour.
Yeah.
Rob saw me before. My hair wasn't combed. I was in a tank top. Like, it's a process.
What was I gonna say? It's tough too, because like, if I don't have something to like actively talk about, I'm just gonna sit there and do whatever I'm doing on the stream and just like zone in on that completely.
That's fair. But I mean, like, seems like you got some fans in the chat, so you probably would get poked a lot if you were just streaming.
It could be. I really should just do it and stop finding excuses to not do it.
And I will say this, I mean, everybody's mileage may vary, but from everyone I talk to that has been streaming, like, especially now, they say even, like, it just, like, helps feel less awkward. Because you just, like, have people you're talking to.
It's kind of hanging out with, yeah.
Yeah. Stack with Overwatch casters. Yo, they're too nice at Valorant. I'd be, like... I would be effectively like a person on the enemy team for them. So like that's why I can't play like League with like my like Riot caster friends, because they're all like, except for Riv, they're all like fucking diamond, and I'm like, nah, you guys go have fun. I'm like, I
need to go play some CS and get my mechanics back.
Yo,
otherwise I'm gonna be bad business.
I'm so bad at Twitch shooters. Yo, Zufoto, it's true though. He's like by far the lowest MMR caster. Like he's gold now, but like I don't. Oh, that's not true. I think Froska's not. Frost spent some time in silver when she like wasn't. He's gold now, Zoo. But like, there's no other caster that's as low MMR as him. Not because like Riot doesn't hire, but like. Most of the casters, a lot of the newer casters are like people who, one of the ways they like got their Riot when they like were interviewing with Riot, like the story with Captain Flowers, he like set out to be the #1 Skarner in the world so that he would have something to talk about in his interview. And sure enough, when they interviewed him, they were like, oh, so we see that you're like the #1 Skarner, like in the world. And like that helped him show that like he knew about the game and knew a lot of the intricacies of the game to take a character like Skarner and play him at like I think like a high diamond level and be ranked #1 Skarner. So like Riv is from a bygone era of like a lot of the people who get these jobs now are just so smart at the game. But I love Riv, and Riv is a fellow New Yorker, so like I'm ride or die Riv. Also, I'm pretty sure you could beat me in a fight, so definitely not trying to flex on Riv. But The fact that I'm devolving into talking about League of Legends casters and beating me in a fight means that it's probably time to end the show because my hunger is kicking in. It's because we talked about egg sandwiches. I was fine.
That's what it is.
Until we started talking about egg sandwiches, and then everything went to shit for me. Rob, where can everybody find you on the internet?
On Twitter, TempusRob, just like it's spelled down here on the stream. That's the best place for most of what I do on the internet.
Is your Twitch TempusRob too?
Yes.
When the
yes,
stream does start happening? All right, cool.
Yeah. Give me a follow over there too. I will.
Give me a follow also, if you all haven't already. Sorry, shameless plugs.
Oh, I thought you were telling me that. I was like, no, I definitely follow you.
But yeah, so is my mouse turned off? My mouse did turn off because it's a shitty little. And for those of you who came here because of Rob, that's all my socials. It's at Amanda T.N. Stevens on Twitter, Sage Gnosis, like where you are now for YouTube. That's where all the show goes. You can find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I think pretty Stitcher. Just type in The Neutral. They all have their own individual links. I should put it into my Nightbot, but I'm too lazy because I'm not a real streamer. But Rob, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thank you.
And for all of you, remember to go beyond plus ultra. Peace.
Right on. Peace.